Welcome to the Rewilded Human podcast, where Dr. Lucille and Lynn will tackle your most difficult and intimate questions with candor, tough love, and a little dash of humor. In today's episode,
if I were you, I would delve a little deeper into what's really going on for him that he needs to be this involved still. If you don't, and you just pretend like everything's okay because you're afraid of losing him, you're going to lose him anyway, because this is not going to turn out well for you unless you're really happy being the fifth wheel.
The fact that she wouldn't agree to joint custody kind of makes me feel like she's using the dog to manipulate the situation and to control him. Because I think in a normal world, just like with children, with the dogs too, the fairest thing you can do is joint custody where everybody would have it equal time.
I would say take care of yourself first. Do whatever you need to do to come to terms with all of this and find some peace, because you won't be able to move forward otherwise.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our very special episode 50. Can you believe it, Lucille? Unbelievable. Wow. I'm Lynn Hardy, guys. I'm a naturopath and a nutritional consultant, and my beautiful and very wise co-host is Dr. Lucille, who is a holistic psychiatrist and psychotherapist. Did I say that right?
You did indeed.
Okay, good. I always want to make sure I don't get it wrong. And we are here to answer your most intimate questions, guys. Keep sending us your questions. Nothing is off the table. It can be related to health, mental health, relationships, work problems, anything that you can think of. We are happy to tackle it and give you the best advice that we possibly can. If you enjoy our content, guys, please make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, and share these episodes, because it really helps to get this out to as many people as we can. As you can tell, we have no sponsors on these episodes, so we're not making any money. We are purely here dedicating our time to you guys to help you with your issues. So we hope you appreciate it, and we hope you enjoy it as much as we enjoy filming these for you guys. That was a long intro. Sorry about that. So we're going to jump into your questions. The first one is from Sadie.
Hi, ladies. I'm dating a man I really like, but it bothers me that he's very involved with his ex and teenage daughter. Whenever they have a problem, he drops everything to be there for them. He tells me he's never going back to his ex, but he's also not interested in getting a divorce. I feel like a fifth wheel. What should I do? Thanks, Sadie.
Well, thanks very much, Sadie, for your question. My question to you would be, well, how much longer do you want to feel like a fifth wheel? I don't know how long you've been dating this man. Maybe you really don't know him all that well. But I think the sooner the better. You need to have a talk. You need to really, first of all, decide, do you want to be the fifth wheel? Do you want to have a relationship where you feel like you may not come before his daughter, because kids are always the top priority for people. And that's just a given. That's natural, right? You may not want to be fifth wheel, but you may at least want to be second after his daughter in his list of priorities, right? But for a man to be that involved with his ex and his daughter, and he doesn't want to get a divorce, something's going on there that is like probably not what you're going to be able to fix or change. So at the very least, you need to have a talk with him about why he doesn't want to go for a divorce. You may say that, you notice how he drops everything to take care of them. And why does he feel he needs to do that? Do they not have resources? I mean, the daughter is not like 5 years old. She's a teenager, right? So if I were you, I would delve a little deeper into what's really going on for him that he needs to be this involved still. Because if you don't, and you just pretend like everything's okay because you're afraid of losing him, you're going to lose him anyway, because this is not going to turn out well for you unless you're really happy being the fifth wheel. So that's what you have to contend with. You have to really be honest with yourself. Could you go for the rest of your life with a man like this, being the fifth wheel? So
Yeah.
I guess you're asking us because you're not happy with it, but I'm also of the mind that if there's a real problem, a misalignment in a relationship, you talk about it as soon as possible, and then you reflect on what the answers were, and then you decide what you're going to do from there on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
I mean, by default, the ex is always going to be in your life, Sadie, because of the child. So you
yeah.
are tied, bound forever, and that's not going to change. But I mean, as to how much involvement he chooses to have with the ex, that's really up to him. And I'm going to tell you guys a story. So I used to have this friend. This was many years ago, and she was dating this guy who was separated, divorced. I'm not sure what it was. And he had like a young teenage daughter. I don't know, she was like 12 or 13. And every time the daughter would come over, my friend, the new girlfriend, would sit in the back of the car and the daughter would sit in the front. The daughter would sleep in the bedroom with the father, and the
Oh,
girlfriend was sleeping on the couch. And this went
oh.
on for years. And my mind was just blown that somebody would put up with this. And when I saw that, and I said, you know what? I will never, ever sit in the back seat for anyone. So, Sadie,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's time for you to stop sitting in the back seat.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
if this is a serious relationship and someone that you imagine a future with, then you have to have a really serious conversation with this guy. And if it's not going to change, and if his first priority is always going to be his ex and his daughter, then there's not that much you can do. But also, I want to ask you another question, like how long are you happy to keep dating a married guy? Because
Mm-hmm.
he's not interested in getting a divorce. So
Yeah.
how
So
much of
technically,
your
you're right.
how
Technically, you're
much
right.
of
He's
your
still married.
life
Yeah.
are you
Yeah.
willing to sacrifice for a married man? Because ultimately you're dating a married man.
So, Sadie, I think you need to also to do some work on your self-esteem and realize that, perhaps you deserve better.
Yeah. Find a
Okay.
guy that will put you in the front seat, Sadie.
It's right.
You deserve the front seat.
That's
That's
right.
a very, very sad, very unfortunate
Yeah.
situation, but
Yeah.
there's no other way out. Okay, guys, the next question is coming to us from Barb.
Hi, Dr. Lucille and Dr. Lynn. I'd always been very close to my father. I looked up to him and thought he could do no wrong. After his death, however, I discovered he'd been having an affair with a friend of my mother's for over a decade. I know my mother has no idea, and I don't want to hurt her by revealing the truth. But keeping the secret and trying to get my head straight about who my father really was is messing me up. What should I do? Thanks for your help, Barb.
Thank you so much for your question, Barb, and that we appreciate your honesty and for opening up about something so personal, so difficult. Wow, I just like imagine myself being in your situation for a second and finding something out like this about my father, and it would be absolutely heartbreaking. We look up to our fathers so much, and they're like our idols, and they can do no wrong, and it's like the perfect man in our eyes. And then to find out something like this, and with your mother's friend, oh wow. I agree with you that your mother should not find out. I mean, I don't think it would help her in any way. I think it would be horrible. If I was the mother, I don't think I would want to know. Would you want to know, Lucille? Would you want to know about something like this?
Well, I'm different. I would want to know, but
You would want to
I
know.
can understand. I
But
can
wouldn't
understand like her mother, who that would shatter her life probably.
that
Yeah.
would like that would like make your whole life a lie? But then,
Yes.
there could be other things that were going on between the parents that maybe Barb was not aware of. Maybe things weren't as, maybe they had an open relationship. Maybe they had
Or
threesomes. So, I don't want to go there, but you
right.
don't,
So you never know what kind of compromises people make in their marriages. Like,
yeah,
you can see some men who are almost openly having affairs with other women, and the wives seem to be oblivious, but maybe they're getting something else in return
yeah.
for the guy being able to go out and have affairs. I mean, you can never tell what goes on behind closed doors. But
And we always
yeah,
have this picture of our parents, like our parents together, lovey-dovey. They never even looked at another one. They were both virgins when they met. Like that's kind of the picture that you want in your head about your parents. You don't want to know about anything else. So
yeah.
it's unfortunate situation that Barb even discovered this. But
Mm-hmm.
how does she move on from this? Like how does she forgive her father? How do you maintain the nice memories? That I think you kind of have to separate him as a father from him being a husband, because that's kind of the mom's
Yeah.
issue, right? But I mean, this
Yeah.
could also impact her relationships going forward, because how do you trust someone
Absolutely.
when your father is doing this to your mother, was doing this to your mother? How can you trust the man after that? You will question.
Well, I totally agree that it can leave a lasting impact on a person for the rest of their lives when they find out that one of their parents was unfaithful. It's like it's not just that the husband is unfaithful to the wife, because the children feel that they've been cheated on too.
Yeah, 100%.
And you're right. You're right, Lynn. It's like they then go around thinking, oh, I can never trust a man again. And it causes so much damage. It really does. And I appreciate you saying that it's messing you up. It really is. I agree that you don't want to be revealing anything to your mother because you have no idea. Well, she probably isn't ready to really listen to the secret. It would probably damage her as well. But first and foremost, you have to deal with your own feelings. Like there's the grief of his death, and then the whole transformation of your life story, of your relationship with him, who he really was. That is also crushing. It's crushing. So you may want to consider going to therapy for this, because it is very, very emotionally complicated. And if you don't want to mess up the rest of your life, you may have to really take this very seriously and realize that it's already done a lot of emotional damage to you. I would say take care of yourself first. Do whatever you need to do to come to terms with all of this and find some peace, because you won't be able to move forward otherwise.
Yeah.
So, I'm very empathic. This is really, really hard. This is hard.
Sad. It's really sad. Yeah. Well, good luck with everything, Barb. I agree with Dr. Lucille about getting help and helping you deal with this and to move on. Hopefully you can still hang on to the nice memories that you had. You don't look back as your whole childhood or your whole life with your father as a lie, because it wasn't anything against you, even though it feels like that. It wasn't anything that was done against you or maliciously done against you in any way. But yeah, I mean, we get protective of other mothers, so anything that's done against them, you feel like it's also being done against you. So it's a very, very hard situation. We hope you can find some peace and closure, Barb. Thank you so much for your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's see the next question that we have from Tony.
My wife and I are divorcing. A major roadblock is who gets custody of our dog. My ex refuses to consider joint custody. She's being very vindictive and controlling. I love the dog and spent more time taking care of him than she did. How can I get her to split our time with the dog? With much appreciation, Tony.
Tony, my friend, take your dog and run. That's what I would do. This is a hard one. I mean, we had 3 dogs for a very long time. We've lost 2 recently and we have a new puppy. But, we've also often had this conversation with my husband. Like, we have 3 dogs. What do we do? Everybody takes 1.5 dog. Like, what do you do? How do you divide them? I mean, we are both so attached to our dogs. We would fight tooth and nail, both of us, to keep the dogs. That's not even a question. And of course, you feel like you gave more to the dog. I'm sure your ex feels like she gave everything to the dog as well, or unless, sometimes people use this as a tool to manipulate you and to control you. That can also happen. The fact that she wouldn't agree to joint custody kind of makes me feel like she's using the dog to manipulate the situation and to control him. Because I think in a normal world, just like with children, with the dogs too, the fairest thing you can do is joint custody where everybody would have at equal time. We have a friend and who's here with us. So I have her locked up upstairs during our podcast filming, as you do with guests. It's like stay in your room for 3 hours, take your jug of coffee and don't come out. So she has a son and he lives in Finland and he had a beautiful dog and a beautiful ex, and they split up and they had joint custody of the dog. And even now, he has a child with another woman and she has 2 babies. They were still sharing the dog. The dog was going back and forth. And I thought that was so sweet. And they were able to maintain a really nice relationship and a joint custody. Because other than that, what else can you do? I mean, Tony's not going to give up. The ex is not going to give up. Maybe they need a mediator. I don't know if they have mediators for something like this.
Oh,
Or
yeah, it's more and more common actually, this kind of battle over custody of pets. It's more and more common now, and and lawyers do write about it. And you do sometimes it can really drag on and be a real pain in the you know what if at least one partner is not willing to give on the issue. And so this is not uncommon in our day any longer. And I think that dogs or pets, you kind of also have to treat them a bit like children, because they suffer too
I do.
when there's a bad marriage, when there's a split. It stresses them out quite a bit. And you have to think about what's in the best interest of the dog. And, Tony, you may think that the best interests of the dog are for the dog to stay with you full time. Maybe the dog would agree. I don't know. But if you've got a really aggressive and vindictive partner who's not willing to go with joint custody, you have to realize that's going to impact on the dog too. Like it's craziness, but you may have to, as Lynn says, go get mediation, find some way of getting your lawyer to talk to her lawyer and, set things that way. But at the end of the day, you also have to think about yourself. And if it's going to be a real battle, you might want to ask yourself, am I really up for this? I totally love this dog. But if I have to be in a struggle for years and years with my ex who is punishing me, do I really want to spend my life that way? And I know it's a painful decision to make, but sometimes you have to cut your losses and just get out of it if that's how it's going to be. I had that situation.
Really?
My ex and I had two dogs, and at first we did ferrying them back and forth to each other's homes. It was joint custody. But my ex would keep putting conditions and controls, and it was kind of like I just wanted him out of my life. I really wanted him out. I loved the dogs dearly, and I assumed that he would take really good care of them. So I just made a decision. I said, listen, if it's going to be this difficult, you take the dogs. In fact, what he did was he abducted them and he didn't bring them back. And this was at a time at the Christmas holidays when I was going out of town to a visit with my family, and he had the dogs and he didn't bring them back.
No way.
At that. Yeah. And I thought, okay, yeah, I could fight him, but then, I thought, no, it's just not going to work out. So Tony, you may have to ask yourself, how much more of a battle do you want with your ex? Because if she can't settle around the joint custody, are you going to make your life miserable for however long it's going to take?
But if he feels like she's not going to take good care of the dog because he's
Yeah,
saying,
well, that's another question. And then you have to ask yourself, well, do you call in the animal rescue people? I have no idea. That's a tough one.
that's
It's a real tough.
really, really tough one. But I think it has to go through legal means. There's no other way that you're going to be able to agree with this woman. Yeah, and like Lucille said, it's very sad for the dog because the dog's struggling through this whole thing as well, and it's hard for them also because going back and forth and everything. Oh wow, that's a really tough one. I really feel for you guys. Yeah, Tony, I think that's all we've got. I mean,
yeah, it's a tough one, Tony, and but I wish you all the best.
yeah, and write back to us and let us know how it gets resolved. We appreciate your question. So we're on to the last question of the day.
I'm a widower and I've been dating online for the past 6 years. I've met women I'd like to get to know, but my problem is I don't know how to talk to them. I've never been much of a talker and I didn't get much practice in my marriage because my wife did all the talking. Do you think I should take courses or something? From Jeremy.
Well, thanks, Jeremy, for this question, because, a lot of guys would not be vulnerable and ask for help with something like this. So it takes courage for a guy to come out and say, I'm having this problem with dating. Good for you. Because you know what? You're not the only one. Lots and lots of people have problems with it, and especially men, because men are not socialized really to have conversations, or at least of the generation that I come from, the dinosaur era. They were not, they just were not conversational. And usually in any social setting, the wife would be the one doing all the socializing, and the guy's kind of sitting back making a comment every once in a while, and that would be it, right? Mm-hmm. So, but it is a very important skill to develop if you want to attract another woman in your life. I would say it might be a good idea to get some coaching on this. Mm-hmm. And, for somebody, because there are dating coaches out there. Mm-hmm. And they will analyze, what's your first approach? What do you say? What do you not say that you should be saying? So that might be your best avenue to learn how to talk to women. But one thing that is really important is that for anybody who wants to be a better communicator, you have to be a good listener. That's top number one. You have to, in a dating situation, you're listening for certain things. Like you obviously, probably, Jeremy, have a list of things that you're looking for in a woman, and you want to listen carefully to what she says to see, does she meet my criteria? Is she a kind person? Does she think about world events? I'm very much into world events. I love talking to somebody who's into world events, that sort of thing. So you're always listening, and your listening will then kind of nudge you in the direction of what you need to say, because she says, I'm really up on politics. I love politics. And so your next question will be things like, well, okay, so what is it about politics that really excites you? And where do you lean? Are you left leaning? Are you right leaning? And then the conversation rolls. It should roll easily from there.
Yes. Unless he finds another woman who likes to do all the talking. And that should be easy to do, right? And then the pressure is off of him.
Brilliant, Lynn. That is an easy way out. That you, on your profile, if you're doing a dating app or whatever, you just would put, I don't do any talking. The woman has to do all the talking.
Exactly. I mean, you will have millions of women falling at your feet. They'd love that, because women want a guy who listens. They don't want the guy talking, right?
Just one thing I want to insert, it's a kind of universal principle that I think a lot of men should learn when they're meeting a woman, is you don't focus so much on her appearance. Okay. Mm-hmm. If you want to compliment her genuinely, steer clear of the compliments about her appearance, at least until you get to know her a little bit better. Mm-hmm. Women prefer to be complimented on things like, how they think, the fact that they're interesting, the fact that they seem to be, very engaging, that, you enjoy talking to them, that you find them a good listener, or all sorts of other things. But if you start off with,
nice
wow,
butt.
Yeah.
Nice butt. What are you drinking?
Yeah, if you're really going for a genuine relationship, that's not the direction you want to go into. It just isn't. It may not be you, Jeremy, but this is for all the other guys out there who have no idea how to talk to a woman on a date. Okay.
But you know what's hard, Lucille, that even if he takes some coaching lessons and everything, but if he's just genuinely a quiet guy, and then, he's trying to put himself out there and he's trying to awkwardly talk, it doesn't really come across as genuine, because it'll come out as kind of forced, because he doesn't really want to say anything.
No, I don't think that's true. I understand what you're saying, and that sounds intuitive, but truthfully, introverts can be the best conversationalists. Mm-hmm. If they're comfortable enough, okay, and if they learn certain techniques, they can be very good at conversation one-on-one. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. They just have to, as I say, just learn some techniques. And the more they practice it, the more comfortable they get. They will never be the person at the party that, it stands up on the piano bar and starts telling jokes. Okay, they won't do that. Right.
Yeah.
But one-on-one, an introvert can be a deep conversationalist. Mm-hmm. If you find the right topics. they're really good. So I would not stereotype them all as, well, nah, they can't open up. They can't have a conversation. I think they can, and I think they can do it genuinely. Sometimes they just need a little bit of coaching, a little bit of support in how to do that.
Yeah.
So,
You know, another idea would be like, so you've been online dating for 6 years. So obviously when Tony, you go on a date, you have that pressure on you to, you know, charm this woman, to talk to her and everything. So rather than going on dates, why not meet up with female friends and have conversations with them and see how that flows? When there are no expectations, it's not a date, you know, you don't have to sweep them off their feet. You're just having a conversation with a woman. Because I think once you become more comfortable with that, and see that, you know, it's easy, and it's easy to talk to women, and they embrace it and they talk back to you, and then gradually start dating when you feel a little bit more comfortable. Do you think that could work, Lucille?
oh yeah, sure. I hope you do have female friends that you can do that with.
Yeah.
But even if you don't, you can just practice by, say, you go to the same coffee shop every day for 10 years or so. You are probably striking up conversations with the staff, right? The barista, whoever. And you might just want to practice, being a little more chatty than usual. See
Or
how
maybe
that goes.
every day, make it a goal. Every day I'm going to talk to a stranger, you know?
Right.
Either at the
Perfect.
bank or in the shop or whatever. Every day I'm going to say hello, or try to chat up a stranger and see what happens, just to get him out of his comfort zone.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So, Jeremy, there's hope for you. There really is. And Lynn and I are supporting you 100%.
All the way. Absolutely.
All the way.
Absolutely.
So tell us how it works out. Don't give up. Don't give up. Okay.
Thank you guys so much. That brings us to the end of episode 50. Thank you again for staying with us, for watching, for supporting us, for sending us your questions. We are always happy to get them. Make sure you like and subscribe. Share this episode with as many people as you can, because the algorithm loves that stuff and we appreciate it so much. Dr. Lucille, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure doing these podcasts with you, and wishing you guys all a lovely day. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Bye-bye. Please be aware that Lynn and I are here to provide insights, advice, stories that are for educational and entertainment purposes only. None of our content should be considered to be personal, medical, or mental health therapy. If you are experiencing a mental health or physical health challenge, please consult the appropriate healthcare specialist. We are here to provide the best possible content in an atmosphere of positive conversation and personal growth.